Let's make this magic happen. Today I'm looking at the Transform Element TE-01 OP Leader. But if you're someone with at least one eyeball and a pulse, you'll know this figure better as Generation 1 Optimus Prime, which you can find online for about $209 Canadian or $155 American. This figure is often hailed as the best G1 Optimus Prime to date, and I think Transform Element knows this because out of their rather slim catalog, they released a color variant of this mold 5 gosh dilly darn times! Not gonna lie though, the anime edition one's looking pretty tight, I wish I got it. This is largely considered to be one of the best Optimus Prime figures out there, third party or otherwise. But is it flawless? Well... To start off with, let's look at the box. It's rectangular made of cardboard. What do you want from me? I've got nothing to say about the box. Why do you want to know about the box? You're some kind of weirdo? Here's a cool feature. You open it up and things go like this. Let's start off with the instructions, and if I'm being perfectly frank here, they're garbage. They fail to convey essential information clearly, like this step here, where they expect you to flip out the side piece. What you actually have to do is pull this piece out as it is spring-loaded, and then rotate it around. And then there's a step here which is impossible to do if you try to follow the instructions, but oof. I'll get to it. For accessories, you have the standard issued Energon Axe and Ion Blaster. The axe attaches to either arm by tucking the hand away as you would while transforming it, and it hooks onto this bar here. The blaster tabs into the palm of his hand and holds on well enough. If you press this conspicuous white button here, a red LED lights up at the tip of the barrel. The batteries are included and pre-installed by the way, and the included screwdriver can be used to access them if you need to change them out. The light is bright enough, but it is embedded so deep into the barrel that you can't really see it unless you look at it head on. This kind of thing is just begging for some kind of translucent effects piece to fit on the end. I have to confess though, mine doesn't shine as brightly as it should, because during the production of this review I accidentally dropped the figure on the floor and knocked the LED out of alignment. Whoopsie. Then we have this trailer hitch. It plugs into the trunk bed and makes this figure compatible with the trailer from the official MB10 Optimus Prime, which is a nice optional feature, but you have to remove it to transform and there's no place to store it in robot mode, so it's likely going to spend most of its life staying in the box. Lastly, you have an alternate head with a dinky little screwdriver and extra screw for good measure. Swapping the heads is not a simple matter. You have to remove the screw from the head and break it down into 4 components in order to remove it from the neck. It is such a difficult task with such small and fragile parts that I can only really recommend doing it if you like the look of the old head better. Comparing the two, you can see that this one has sharper edges and smaller eyes. Is one more animation accurate than the other? Honestly, it's hard to tell because, well, look, it's the 80s, alright? We're all about parachute pants, John Hughes, and not staying on an animation model. Now, the figure comes out of the box in robot mode, but you know that I like talking about the old mode first. OP Leader, and by which you mean Optimus, is famously modeled after the Freightliner FL-86 cab. I'd compared the figure to the real-life truck, but it's kind of a moot point because cartoon accuracy is the name of the game here. And they nailed the look of Optimus Prime as an iconic bold and blocky brick on wheels. They did take some liberties with the sculpted and riveted panel details along the cap here, which is only slightly embellished over the real-life inspiration, but it's not distracting. The front windows are a clouded light blue tint, which mostly hides the fact that the cab has no interior and that the matrix chamber is right up front there. At least it's better than the more translucent look shown in the production images. The side windows, however, are painted a solid black, which I personally think would have looked better if it had a shade of blue to match the front windows. The truck bed is about as thick as any Optimus Prime figure, but at least the legs transform enough to give it a mostly flat surface, with details that emulate a proper truck bed. I would like to point out that at least on my figure, there's some extra rubber hanging off the tires from the molding process. Which as any collector knows, when you go for third-party figures, you kind of take quality control into your own hands. But you've got some window wipers action here, so that's something. I'd say it's about time to transform and roll out. transformation is a hell of an experience, taking the classic Optimus Prime formula and putting a new spin on it. But unfortunately, this is where the flaws come in that I was talking about. So, let's talk about the Dinobot of the room, shall we? The fault lies entirely with this little dink of a tab right here. It fits into this slot here and actively prevents you from pulling the back out as the instructions would have you do. You can't even put the back in with the sides in place because the tabs get in the way. So your only choice is to put the back in first and then try to secure the side pieces. Which is an exercise in figure contortion because the sides have two tabs here which also slot into here. These pieces tend to flop around and get in your way, and the shoulder blades are spring-loaded so they're actively getting in your way. What's worse is that the offending tabs serve no structural purpose. The sides stay firmly in place in spite of the back, and the back itself is secured with this large gray brick, which happens to be the only noticeable piece of kibble in the truck mode. And the tabs don't even have a structural function there either. I swear to Primus, if they fix this issue in one of the other color variants, I'm gonna blow a gasket. Once you muscle your way through questionable engineering choices, you get to what this figure's all about. This is perfectly proportioned from every angle with absolutely zero truck kibble hanging off of it. The head sculpt is bold, simple, and unmistakably Optimus Prime. There is a noticeable crease here for the transformation joint, but it's not too distracting. Credit to the old head though, the crease follows the shape of the crest rather than cutting through it. Also, his eyes stand on nicely since they are a separate piece from the rest of the face. No LED or light piping though. The entire build is packed together nicely and is entirely kibble free to the effect that this does not look like a transforming figure. The legs especially do a good job of hiding the truck bed and wheels by flipping every panel inside out. I find that there's a slight wobbliness with the waist, but given that it's held together with a thick metal support beam, I'm not worried about it. And let's not forget, what would any Optimus Prime figure, especially a G1 design, be without a matrix of leadership? Opening up the truck windows to reveal the chamber is easy enough, but you might need a tool or long fingernails to open up the chamber itself. Now you might be forgiven for thinking that the matrix of leadership is not removable. It is, but you'll need to bring in a pair of needle-nose pliers to extract it. The matrix itself is made of painted die-cast metal with a translucent blue gem. For articulation, the head can swing back and forth, and you get a little up and down motion with it too. The shoulder can swing out 90 degrees, and you get a full soft ratcheted rotation. If you unleash the arm assembly from the transformation joint, you can get a lot of forward motion too. You get a full bicep rotation and a pretty deep arm crunch despite being single jointed. The hand rotates and you get two joints per thumb, index finger, and the rest of the fingers which are molded together. The waist rotates 90 degrees to either side, which is more than you can ask for any pose. The thigh moves forward and backwards thus far with the soft ratchet, and can swing out thus far. You don't get a thigh rotation, but you do get a rotation right above the knee which works just as well. The knee can bend back thus far with a satisfyingly clicky ratchet joint. The toe bends upwards but doesn't bend downwards. And lastly, you get a good enough ankle pivot supported by this sliding pin here. All in all, the above average articulation combined with the solidity of the figure grants you a plethora of posing possibilities, with the large blocky feet giving it the stability it needs to pull off most standing poses without the need for a figure base. Even the little bit of extra arm articulation afforded by the transformation joint opens up to many more cool poses. And that was Transform Element TE-01 OP Leader. You know what? Despite all those flaws, I still love this little guy. He remains one of my favorite figures I have in my collection, to the point where when I display him on a shelf, I put my MP10 Optimus Prime behind him in truck mode. I don't know, it hits the right kind of nostalgia for me to bring me right back to my childhood. And the messy bits of the transformation are sort of an exercise to work around the flaws and become better at it each time. I highly recommend this to any collector, and those have been my thoughts, so outro catchphrase. Damn it!